Hello everyone and Happy New Year. So glad you're here today on Stephen Melin Live, where we are taking a look today at another sample instrument review, plus a little demo. And over the next hour, we're going to be taking a look at the Intimate Solo Strings bundle by Embertone. So for those of you who were able to join me last year, or you've seen the review video, you may be familiar with the Joshua Bell violin. So, let me pull up the page there. You might remember the Joshua Bell violin. Sounds a little something like this. And that was a tremendously fun stream getting to showcase that. And I'm really excited that the track that I wrote, Light in the Darkness, is the first track in their SoundCloud playlist on the page there, and that's been really well reviewed. And that was even a really cool experience where Joshua Bell himself gave a really cool shout out about that, and that was a really fun time. So since then, I thought it'd be really cool to dive into the other solo strings by Embertone. I really love Embertone. And so reached out to the team and just said, hey, I'd love to showcase each of the 4 string instruments within the solos here, because string solos are a very tricky bunch, because they're, at least in my opinion, as a string player, as someone who plays violin and viola and a little bit of cello, it's a very hard instrument to mimic, to sound realistic on a keyboard, right? Or through samples. And so of all the instruments I've seen out there, I really feel like Embertone has nailed it. And so far, they're the one company that can really pull it off with the way they have the instruments programmed. So as long as you have a general understanding of how these instruments work with bowing and tone, and the different articulations that you can play, I think you get a really good shot at making these sound as real as possible. So I'm excited to dive into this today. So this video is sponsored by Embertone. Only, I say that sponsored because they have provided the instruments for me to try out and to review. But my little asterisk is that I'm going to give an honest opinion about each of these instruments, and then we're going to write some music using them. Because I always feel like the best way to get a grasp on a VST is to actually use it, not just isolated, but in an actual piece of music. That way you can kind of get a feel for how it works and all that good stuff. So if you do want to check out the Intimate Strings Solo Bundle, it's definitely the best It's the best bang for your buck, because you get a discount when you get all 4 together. So let's take a quick look at what we have. We have the Friedlander violin, the Fischer viola, the Blakus cello, and the Leonid bass. And I like that in this manner. Let's say if you wanted to create a string quartet, for example, then you have a violin, viola, and cello, and you can do 2 different violins. Or if you just want to have all 4 instruments, you can also add the bass in there. So I think that's the least important of the bunch, although it's really, really good samples. And I'm excited to show these to you. So let's pop over to Cubase for today. And I want to show you each of the interfaces here. So they're contact instruments. So when you pull these things up, you can choose between 16-bit or 24-bit, and you can choose between mono or stereo. So anytime that you record a solo instrument, my personal opinion is to do a mono channel, because mono means one microphone. You're going to put it in front of the instrument, you're going to play. So with strings in particular, I think that's the best way to go, because then you can more specifically microphone place the instrument to be, left or right, or center, that kind of thing. A stereo means two microphones. So you might get a fuller, richer sound for that solo instrument, but the disadvantage is that it's much harder to move in the mix. So especially if you're going to be using a lot of solo instruments like we are doing today, I would just use mono. 24-bit is going to be a way bigger file. It's also higher quality, but it's more RAM. And so it's up to you which one you want to choose. Today I'm just using 16-bit because they sound great by themselves and they're WAV files, so it's not like they're low quality, but it can save some space. So for today, the way that I like to write music, I'm going to be choosing the mod wheel patches, and you do have the option to choose all CCs, the mod wheel expression, the touch OSC if you want to use the app to help control the different articulations aside from the computer. And then you also have those available as low RAM options. So they're going to be slightly lower quality samples to save on RAM, which is very kind and generous of them to do. But I'm going to be sticking to the mod wheel because, as you guys have seen, when I write music, I use the mod wheel like crazy. And you kind of see this grid here. This is my vibrato and color wheel. And so what it's doing is, as I move the mod wheel up and down, kind of see how the X and Y axis are moving at the same rate. So that's what they mean by mod wheel. So you can change the expression or the all CCs. That way, if you wanted to automate, so for example, if you wanted to just write your music on your keyboard or with your mouse, then you could go, it's kind of the slowest way, but you could go through and automate each of the parameters like vibrato, color, articulation, legato, and do all that stuff on the back end. But I'm a performer. I love doing it all at once, so that mod wheel patches are very important for me. Alternatively, just like with any contact instrument, you can right click on something and hit learn MIDI automation, and then move the button on your MIDI controller, such as a mod wheel or pitch bend or a button, and you can map it to that, so that if you wanted to create your own mapping, you could. You don't have to stick with just what the programmers have done in advance. But yeah, so each of these instruments, the Friedlander violin, the Fischer viola, the Blakus cello, and the Leonid bass have those options. The bass doesn't have as many options because it's a bass. Like, there aren't as many ways to play a bass as you can the higher instruments, such as violins and violas. And so they just have a blank patch of either 16-bit mono stereo or 24-bit mono stereo. So you can pick which one you want there. I also like in this interface here, it's very clean. So right now we have the Friedlander violin chosen. So the default patch here is a sustain patch, and it sounds like this. And as you can tell, if my mod wheel is down, it's going to be very quiet. So let's put the mod wheel up. That way the vibrato is high, the volume is high. I love how whatever your final note is, it uses vibrato on it. So you could map this differently to where only one of the axes moves, and that way, you control just the vibrato versus the volume and vibrato. But I kind of like doing both because that's more natural. So I could play a very legato line. I can very easily crescendo and decrescendo my volume, my dynamics with my mod wheel, which I like a lot. So anywho, then at any point we can add on sordino, which is the mute, so we can darken the sound. You can do sol ponticello, which is, these can stack, by the way, so you can do both. Sol ponticello, which is where you play kind of tremolo over the bridge. Sol tasto, which is even nastier. So it's just cool that you have all these different color options. And it's not just like an EQ. They actually recorded the samples with the instrumentalist playing like that. Then you can also change the color by turning it on, and you can move where the player is playing on top of the string. So for example, it could be really, really whiny and kind of flautando, or very, very bright. So that might be more for atmospheric type music or like horror music, kind of getting some sound effects. I personally won't be using those options, so I'm going to turn it off. I'm here for the vibrato. I'm here for the rich, lush legato passages. So let's turn off Soltasto. And at any point with these samples, if you hold on to two notes at once, it's going to glide between them. So if I play like an E to a B, if I do them separately, then they're going to play separate notes. But if I connect them, you can create some really cool glissando or portamento style playing. I like to always turn on my round robin samples. That way, if I play two notes, they're actually two different samples of someone playing versus one sample repeating. So round robin, it does take a lot more memory, but I would always turn that on any samples that you might have. And then I'm okay with the default reverb. It's pretty low. But then, of course, you can change between your different articulations as well. So staccato, pizzicato. It's a very good, probably the best pizzicato solos I've ever heard. Very realistic. And then tremolos. I love how the intensity is changing every single time. It's not like it's just one pitch that's stretched. They're actually all recorded. So it adds so much. It adds a lot of depth to it all. So that's really, really cool. And aside from that, you also have this ensemble option. If you're going to choose ensemble to try to make it sound like a lot of players, a whole section, then I would highly recommend you choose the stereo option when you're choosing the patch. That way you have multiple instruments playing. Now, of course, it's not actually multiple instruments playing. It's this solo instrument taking multiple samples and it's stacking them on top of each other, spreading them out. And that's what this tightness is all about, is like how close the samples launch together. And you can even change the panning, how many players, and the randomization, and the intonation. So it just means they're all going to be slightly off with their pitch, which is what actually happens. So here's what happens when I start playing. It's not bad, but really the purpose of these patches are to use the solos. So that's what I'm going to be using them for. And the last option here is you can change the vibrato style. The default, it's a little intense for me. So as you go down, they get a little bit less intense. I like gentle. That way it kind of eases in, eases out. So that's my personal preference. So that's how it works. And at any point you can go into the configure tab and you can change some of these options like the speed, how quickly the portamentos happen, kind of the slides between notes, the velocity threshold, which is how hard you play, and kind of how the samples react with one another. But I'm pretty happy with the default sound there. So let's leave it alone. And it's the same engine for each of the samples here. So a question I want to answer is, which is a better instrument, which is a better buy, the Joshua Bell violin or the Friedlander violin? So the Freelander came out several years before the Joshua Bell. So I actually think the Joshua Bell is a better instrument. It kind of takes what they learned from the Friedlander, but they also got Joshua Bell to play on his Stradivarius. So I think it's a better engine, and you gotta get more playability and musicality out of that specific patch. But I'm very happy with the viola, cello, and bass as is. So let me just do a quick comparison so you can hear it. So here's the Friedlander violin playing a little line. And then Joshua Bell. There's just way more musicality, especially in fast passages. That was Friedlander, and here's Joshua Bell. So who knows? Maybe they'll take that new engine and they'll try to apply that to the other instrument sections. Who knows? But for the purposes of this review and demo, I'm actually going to use a Joshua Bell violin when I want to use violin, because I have it, and I think it's a better instrument. So I'm here to illuminate and share my opinions about what I think is good and bad. So I think in this situation, in a real situation, I would use Joshua Bell violin, and then Fischer viola, Blakus cello, and Leonid bass. So let's see if we can make some music out of this. Let's play through some of the sounds just so you can kind of hear them. So the viola. Very rich sound. And I have all these set to the gentle vibrato. Here's the cello. So good. Even the bass is so good. Here's the bass. So it's the exact same options. I might end up using some staccato. It's just so powerful. Pizzicato as well. Also, like, it's a slight difference on the lower strings. There's an option here for harmonics. So the color is way softer. It's really cool. I'm excited to use these. So let's write some music, eh? So they're all set to legato sustain. So they're all monophonic, basic patches. But that's what I like about them, is that they're so simple. I think I want to focus mostly on the lower instruments and kind of use the uppers to supplement. So we're here in Cubase. Let's see if I can pick a tempo that I like, or find like a little phrase, a little motive that I think is kind of catchy. That's pretty cool. Is that in 4/4? Dun, 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 da, 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 da. That's pretty cool. Is that a mode? It feels like a mode. That's totally a mode. That is the Phrygian mode. That's a C minor 7 chord to an F major. So it's kind of acting. It's not quite a. The reason it's not a C minor scale, because we took the A flat out of it. Pretty cool. So let's do that again. Kind of like keeping the E flat in there. Doing an F, let's see, an F7 chord. It's pretty cool. Let's do it. So that's a quick tempo. Bum, 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 That's right at 140. Let's put it in. Yeah, I'll put a triplet at the end. Boom, boom, ban, da, 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 da. Papa, da, 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 da. Cool, bumpa, da, 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 da. So for these, I'm going to quantize to 16ths and the rest to get the triplet, duple. So those are all 8th note triplets. To get the da, or 16th note triplets. See how that sounds. Cool. Take the rest of these are all 16ths. Okay, so let's not quantize those until I have maybe a note in the middle of the phrase on a bar. That way everything kind of shifts to the right beats. Yeah, bum, bum, ba. Cool. Now let's blend those two measures together. So I want this to sound more realistic, so we just got to space it out better. Da, 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 da. Triplet, duple. That's what it is. So let's make those all 8th notes. So 8th, triplet, 8th. Let's make it sound a little bit more important. Let's make it start a little bit before the beat. Like that. I'll probably make this start sooner too. So quantization is great, but it doesn't always mean it has to be perfect, you know. Perfectly on beat does not always make it musical. Especially when your samples vary like this with round robin samples, which is fine. Cool, so I like this as like a phrase. I might even make this kind of hip-hoppy with some beats. Haven't decided yet, but that's kind of the ostinato I want to use. So maybe let's pop out the staccato or the pizzicato for the Leonid bass. Such a cool pizzicato sound. It's pretty loud though. I'll probably turn him down, but let's see. like that. I like it. I think pizzicato even works better in this. So let's turn in that sample. It's pretty loud. Which I understand. When you record it by itself, you have to use a compressor. So that's loud. But in a real context, it can't be that loud. It can't be louder than the cello. That doesn't make any sense. What did I just do? There we go. Cool. I think they're all 16ths. Bum, 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 bum. Cool. There we go. Let's put those as 16ths. See if that fits. If I need to like swing it a little bit. Ugh. So there's a cool button here for swing. This little E button. You can choose the percentage of swing. Let's do like 30%. 16th note with swing. And then when I hit the quantize, it'll space them out a bit more. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. It's kind of funny. Try again. Different setting. Cool. So I'm going to do 16th notes, maybe 20% swing. Just experimenting here, see what sounds the best. Also pretty obvious to me that the samples themselves are quite sluggish, which is okay. Just means I need to start them a tiny bit sooner. So let me, without editing the samples themselves, let's just kind of drag everything and take it off the grid. Just slide it a little bit forward, like this. There it is, that lines up. If I like this. Let's go back to straight. Back to straight 16th now that the cello's in time. Aha, so some of these are not even on. It's sounds so off, no wonder. Some of these are literally not on time. Not swing, it's just syncopated. So they're all 16th notes, the rest off the beat. Bum 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 bum. There we go. Man. Really bad, really off. Hey, that's what it takes, right? Up, 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 up. Not difficult. Cool. I'll get rid of that last one so we can do a loop. Turn my grid back on. Cool. Let's continue the musics. So the way that I would copy and paste this cello is, now that it's all screwed up, I'd actually just take this and I would make it a full bar, because this first note actually comes in on right before the beat. So just copy it and paste it. Notice how there's like a bar that is shaded like that. So one of the good things about Cubase is that I can take multiple clips and I can merge them together. So now it's going to act like, if you really zoom in there, you can see how it's actually off the beat. It comes in a little bit early right there. And that's just one of the cool things. I can merge them together without having to screw up my MIDI data. And I can loop that as many times as I need to. And I need to, without ever going into Contact and editing the samples and all that nonsense. Something. I pushed a button I shouldn't. That's what happened. Okay, be careful whenever you're doing, what are they called? Key switches. Don't push the key switches or else you screw up all of your settings. So I want sustain, I want legato, and I want the gentle. Yeah, crazy. Let's lock it. Hit the lock button, and it turns all of the key switches off. That's probably what I should have done on all of my patches. So let me do that before I mess something else up. This lock button is a very handy button. Just locks all your settings in place. Joshua Bell only has one patch, so it's not a big deal. Just in case I go back and use the Friedlander. Yeah, cool. I'd love to know what you guys think as we go through this process, whether you're watching it live or on the replay. I always love to hear your comments and any questions you might have. I do want to keep the viola a little bit lower, although I do like high viola. Okay, I want to take the first 4 bars. Okay, how can I do this? This dang cello is going to become a little bit complicated to copy and paste a bunch, but it is what it is. Cool, so we have 4 bars right there. So just so you know what I'm doing, instead of chopping it right there, if I chop it right there, it's going to cut off that first note because remember it's before the beat. So I actually have to do 5 bars. I know it's confusing, but the idea is to take everything, push it back 4 bars. Like that. And let's take, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. And basically just copying that beginning, that intro part. So in order to do this, again, it's a little confusing, but hopefully you'll understand. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then basically just trying to keep everything the same. So I want 4 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4. I want it to repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably the easiest way to do this is just to take all of these notes, bring them over like that. And let's just kind of go like that. There we go. So let's create a little markers track. Marker track, we'll call it markers. Put it up here at the top. We'll color everything red so it's easy to see. Okay, our first marker, that's going to be the intro on measure 2. And then bar 4, which is really bar 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, bar 6 rather. 1, 2, can I count? I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4. On bar 6, we're going to put the viola melody. That way we get the full repetition of everything. It's just a nice little intro. And it's not very long either. So here we go. The next section I want to do. So let's record from there. Let's see. Da, 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 triple da. My B section. Let's go ahead and put that in. Let's put that as B. Do better module stuff later. Okay, so one of the downsides to playing live is you don't always capture all the exact, dynamics and module expressions, etc. But For me, I'd much rather have the notes in there, and then if we need to tweak stuff as we go, that's fine. So that's just a little melodic idea, specifically here in this B section. So let's not get overly complicated, but I do want to select everything except for triplet moments and quantize to 16ths. So like right there, that's triplets. Bum, da, triplet bum. Cool, so those are all going to be 16ths. Now everything's quantized. I'm just going to leave the triplets alone. Let's just keep them musical without quantizing, without overly quantizing. And then the other thing, let's take this first section, do the same treatment. Triplet bum. So let's select everything. Let's deselect all the triplet moments. Triplet da. Triplet dum. Cool. The only section that felt a little bit off was one of my dotted rhythms. So let's fix that real quick. I think we're onto something here. Like that. It just sounds awful. Da-da-da-da. Let's do that instead. Make harmonic minor. Yeah, ba-da-dum, triple-it-dum. Notice how it's kind of fighting with me with volume. That's because of the mod wheel, which is this. No, it's not. This one. Just make sure that mod wheel's all the way up before the notes start. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. Like that. Blah, blah, blah. Let's clean that up a little bit. So it's partially velocity and timing. I want to go yum ba-dum. So there's not going to be a perfect quantization. I have to actually move it where I want to. In Cubase, I can hold the control key and then slide it wherever I want. It takes it off the grid. Let's do the same thing. B, C, D, E flat. It's a cool little phrase. I just need to move it. I like it because it's like an antecedent to the cello. So antecedent meaning it's like the response to the call. So the cello goes da-da-da, triplet, so the viola can go triplet, and it makes space for it. Same thing, blech, triplet bum. I will quantize that. get this back on 16ths. These are all quite off. Let's see, what do I want here? On the beat. It's not bad. And again, these samples just trigger late. They're strings. That's kind of a usual thing with string samples. Not a bad thing. It's just gotta get used to it. We can play with that. Cool. So where should the violin come into play? So much I could do with that. I was trying to keep it somewhat simple. I just made this a stereo instrument by putting it in the middle, because the viola is obviously the melody here. So it's more in the middle, and I think I'm going to put a tiny, like not a lot, slight, like 10% right for cello, then left 10% for bass. That way it's a little bit more spread here. Maybe I can turn them up a little bit more. So we need some triplet thingies in the background. I'm thinking weird here today. Let's just go out of our comfort zone today. You cool with that? I'm cool with that. Let's go in the territory of like marimbas, like light percussion. What do we got here to play with? I really want to play with like Kinetic mallets, and they have all the things. There we go. Glockenspiel. It's pretty simple, right? And then pop some ultra maximizers on them. Let's just experiment a little bit. These are marimbas for now. I like that. That's cool. What's wrong with that? It's supposed to be just a little subtle color in the background. I guess it's eighth notes, yeah. Let's roll with the crazy. That'll be the loop point right there. It's actually right at a minute. Oh, it's like I've done this for a long time or something. So here's what I'll do, everybody. Pretty classic loop thing to do. You take the first two bars and you chop them off and you put them at the end. Like this. That way, you get that tail like this. Then it starts. Nice. I'm liking this. It's a changing character too. It's nice. Interesting direction, wouldn't you think? I like the little triplet intro. Let me go grab something. Wow, it's amazing how much that adds. $5, folks. Go get you some. Get you some shakers. All right, let me set my stuffs here. Let's record some shaker. And I'll turn the volume way down because shakers are always loud. Cool, you ready? For my sanity, I'm gonna record from here. Let's hear how it sounds. Cool. Notice my microphone's pointing up and I'm doing it a little bit behind it so that it doesn't pick up so much of the brightness. Just keep it. Let's keep the fun, fast pace. This is why I always have a percussion box handy. It's a really easy edit too, because all you gotta do is find. I don't even have to quantize it. I just need to find that perfect entry spot. Just sliding my control and finding it. Usually find it by just sliding. You can see the waveform, how it lines up. What I'm going to do is do a tiny little intro, like a fade in. Turn it down. Do a little cross fade here. Where's my crossfade button? There's a thing for that, I'm sure. I don't even use it a lot. I think it's this one. There we go. might just do some plucks in the Friedlander. Cool loop point. I like it. I like this last note though. Needs to chill out. Let's grab the mod wheel. Yeah, it's doing exactly the opposite of what I want. I want it to kind of fade out like that. Sounds like my shaker's a little off. I want a clean loop here. Get some more percussion going. Maybe xylophones? Some rubber mallets might be cool. Add some kind of additional layer here that might work. I don't want to go into electronic territory. I want to keep it organic. What can we add? This kind of feel right. Maybe harp of all things, or let's see here. What am I looking for? Looking for the orchestral, the age ensemble. That's what I want. I'm trying to remember where I put it. I think it's right here. Yeah. Dum, ba-da-da-dum. I recently organized all my stiffs, but now I'm missing my one thing I'm looking for. There it is. Yay. Having such a hard time finding this. I guess it's under ethnic. Anyway, it's an ensemble of good lord, where is it? Bum ba da da dum. That's what happens when you have a bajillion samples. Ah, there it is, the cimbalom. Jeez, so hard to find. It's under pitched percussion, that's why. Wasn't thinking that direction. Should be loading. It's a pretty large file. But they're kind of like, it almost has a keyboard type sound, but it's more of an Eastern, like, what are they called? Kalamba, something like that. There we go. Something like that. Kind of has a plucky sound, but it, yeah. Did not explain that well at all, but you'll hopefully get to hear it. Cimbalom. Can't spell. Cimbalom. Okay, I kind of like the staccato because it sounds like plus. That could go well in the background. something's got to go right there. Don't know what it is. Maybe it's a woodwind. I'm just experimenting right now, but there's something that needs to fit into the whole notes of the viola. Maybe it's a piano. Let's find out. Oh, I can't load it in that one. Sorry. Stop screaming at me. Perhaps something like this. Cool. Well, this is something I will continue to experiment with. I hope you guys had fun. I got to wrap it up. I'll continue on this, but let's listen to what we have so far and hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day. Thanks for checking it out. And make sure you check out Embertone's Intimate Solo Strings. I'll be back. See ya.